Final Fantasy XIV is a massive game with thousands of hours of content. What I'm going to do here is break down some of the major plot points for those of you who want to know more about Eorzea, but may not have time to experience it all firsthand. This time, we're going to do the story of the Black Mage. The story begins when you return to the Thaumaturge Guild where Yayake was waiting for you. One of the inmates in the Marasaja pit is claiming to hear the voice of Nalthal himself and is going on and on about a task that must be completed. He's been locked up for a century, so it makes sense that he's insane, but he mentioned you by name. He wants you to get the gem of Shatoto, or something bad is going to happen. He's probably just crazy, but the only way to find out if Nalthal is really talking to him is to do what he says. His name is Kukuraka Tataruka, and he claims to be a black mage, even though that magic has been lost for centuries. In any case, there's nothing to do but go and retrieve the gem, so you head to Highbridge. There's a rift between this world and the void there that Kukuruka wants you to close. Closing it will cause the gem to come to you, if it even exists. When you reach the rift, void scent bursts out of it. You kill them and pour their blood into the rift, which does close it, causing a large Amoja named Kazag Cha to show up. He knows what Kukuruka said to you, and since you managed to close the rift, he gives you the gem. When you bring it back to Yayake, she can't believe that it's actually the real gem from Legends. They say that only people blessed by Nalthal are chosen to keep the gem, which begs the question, why was it in the hands of a member of one of the beast tribes? But that's neither here nor there at the moment. Yayake wants to study the artifact because something strange is going on. If Kukuruka was able to touch the world from within the pit, he may be manipulating adventurers for his own purposes, so she decides to call a meeting of the council, but before she can leave, the door slams shut and two robed Lalafels step out of the shadows. One of them is Kukuruka himself, and Yayake is shocked to see him out of the pit. The other one is Lalai, and I guess she's Kukuruka's apprentice. To say he's been locked up for 100 years, the Lalafell has a lot of freedom if he's able to gather students and stuff. He still claims to speak with the voice of Nalthal, and while Yayake may not believe him, the prison guards did and let him leave. Nalthal says that the seal on the Void Gate will break soon, and it can only be closed by the one holding the gem of Shatoto. And only the chosen one can hold it, something Yayake is clearly not since the gem leaves her pocket to return to you. The gem is the mark of a black mage, and now that you have it, you need to begin your journey to close the Void Gate. Ruka goes to leave, but Yayake tries to stop him, causing him to demonstrate just how much more powerful than her he is by powering up and stopping her in her tracks. He chastises her for claiming to be a thaumaturge, yet pretending to not know of the dangers of the void. The barrier between the two worlds is weakening, and only black magic from the old world can repair it. And you have to learn how to wield that magic, of course. Lalai will be your teacher while Kukuruka meditates, and her first task is for you to head to the Sagoli Desert and kill the beasts that come from the rift there. That will let Kukuruka's allies know that it's time for them to get ready for what's to come. You deal with the Void Scent and seal the rift without too much trouble, and return to Lalai for your next task. Very few people know of the existence of black mages and their art. There aren't even many books that talk of your kind except for the ones in the Forbidden Library in Ul'dah. Kukuruka read those books 100 years ago and learned that the first of the black mages were given the duty of sealing the Void Gate by Nalthal. But black magic's primary goal is to destroy things, hence all of the fire and lightning spells, and any mistakes with that magic could be disastrous, which is why Kukuruka is making sure that you're well trained before you attempt to seal the Void Gate, otherwise the mistakes that led to the calamity could be repeated. For your next task, you have to meet people who Kukuruka calls the Three Keepers of the Order. Kazag Cha is waiting for you in the Burgundy Falls to tell you more. Kazag is joined by an Ixali named Dozo Malak and a Kobold named Dazah. Like you, they are all black mages, but the fact that Ul'dah doesn't look kindly on the beast tribes means they can't go near the city. Since you have been getting stronger, it's Kazag's job to pass on the knowledge that he's been given, but first you have to prove your skills to the other keepers. They send you out to seal a few rifts in front of them so they can see you in action. Dozo is the first to judge your performance, and after seeing you in action, he sent you to Dazah. After he judges your performance, all three beastmen agree that you are indeed the one destined to bring black magic back into prominence. It reminds Kazag of a prophecy his grandfather told him of four magi meeting and together leading the world to light through the power of the dark. Your existence lets him know that his grandfather wasn't crazy, which is good because the void gate is opening and the power you wield is bound to it. If it opens, there's no telling what will happen to you if you aren't strong enough. Well, I'm pretty sure you'll die in some unpleasant way, but they always try to keep you in suspense. One day I hope for the storytellers to simply say, so, if you mess this up, something really big and hairy is going to eat you, and probably the rest of us, so just don't mess up. In any case, Kazag and the others have another task for you. In eras past, when there were a lot of black mages, one stood out above the rest. While his name and most of his teachings were lost to time, some of his work was carved into a pillar in South Shroud. Dozo's own ancestor knew of this and passed the knowledge down to him, and now he's sharing it with you. Makes you wonder just what the races of Eorzea could learn from each other if they just stopped fighting for a little while. When you reach the pillar, the gem of Shatoto shines, and someone speaks to you saying that if you want the power, you're going to have to prove your worth. Be honest, are you really surprised? Void gates open all around you, but luckily Dazaz shows up to give you a hand because the amount of portals that burst open were far too many for you to seal on your own. When you return, Kazag can sense both an increase in your power and a decrease in the looming darkness that he had been sensing. Dazaz is also very impressed with your growth, admitting that you are the mage that his people's prophecies claimed. It was the words of each of their ancestors that led the three of them to meet up and seek out the mage who would be the one to complete the prophecy, despite the outrage from their respective races at their leaving their lands. Dagu, Dazaz's ancestor who had written the prophecy, had been branded a traitor for leaving on the same quest a century ago, and while no other kobold had been drawn to the quest, it just felt right to Dazaz for some reason, and he had to follow in his ancestors' footsteps. Dagu left behind a lot of things that were thought trash, but Dazaz could sense power coming from a stone tablet, and when he shows it to you, your gem starts to glow, revealing the words that were carved into it. It speaks of the void gate opening and of armor that will help protect the heir of Shatoto from what's to come. It lists the locations of 4 pieces of the armor, but they can only be drawn into the world by pouring the blood of black mages into the rifts that you find. Your 3 companions give you some of theirs to use. Hope they at least use something sterile to cut themselves, and you head off. With 3 of the relics in hand, you head back to Kazag, who's had enough time to track down the 4th. It is in a place called Thal's Respite, where another rift into the void lies. You vanquish the creatures that pour from it, and once it's sealed, it spits out the 4th piece of armor. Unfortunately, despite all of his searching, Kazag can't find the location of the final piece. Dazaz's tablet says it's in a place called the Solace of the Gods, but they have no idea where that is. His only clue is a message his grandfather had left long ago that said, the power of destruction will be awoken at the most sacred of places. It's possible that Dazul and Dazaz's ancestors may have known more since they had also started their journey at the same time. Unfortunately, they both headed back to their homelands, so you go to ask Kukuruka himself. When you return to Ul'dah, Lalai is freaking out. Kukuruka has disappeared, and after searching his rooms, she discovered that he wasn't a messenger of Narthal at all. 100 years ago, he worked with some mages from the beast tribes to summon a void scent named Barbados. The Order of Narthal found out what he was doing and sealed the void gate before Barbados could get out, and Ruka was sentenced to die in the Marasaja pit. The Order left very few records of this, not wanting anyone else to try and release the void scent, but Lalai found them in Kukuruka's rooms, along with his plan to get 4 mages of 4 races with 4 artifacts to finish opening the gate. Everything that you've been doing hasn't been to help seal the gate at all, but to open it. Right now he's in Nal's reflection, preparing his ritual, and Lalai sends you to stop him. You, Kazag, and the others arrive just in time to see Ruka finish breaking the seal on Barbados' prison before he collapses. The 4 of you face the void scent, calling on all of your skills to defeat it, and all of the other creatures that burst out of the void gate. With the void scent finally defeated, Ruka tells you all the truth. When he was young, he discovered ancient writings that told him of black magic, and he wanted to learn more. He wanted to know why the power's existence had been hidden, and why all of the mages had vanished. The more he learned, the more powerful he became, and with his new power he wanted to make a name for himself, one that would be legendary. But he hit a roadblock until he met the ancestors of Kazag and the others. With them working together, he learned so much about the Gem of Shatoto, how to sense magic, and so much more. And since they all had the same goal of becoming famous mages, they made a great team. When they felt they'd reached their full potential, they decided to perform a ritual that they thought would restore black magic to its former glory. But Ruka thought he could make the spell better, and he added his own twist to the chants. The spell misfired and tore his friends apart, fusing them together into the creature Barbados. Ruka couldn't defeat it, so he sealed it behind the Void Gate. The backfiring spell made his own ether unstable, and since he didn't know if he could control his powers, he returned to Ul'dah and manipulated the minds of a few thaumaturges, making them believe that he had committed a crime so they would lock him in the pit. And there he waited, until someone appeared with the power to purify his friend's ether. With the last bit of his strength, Ruka hands you the 5th relic, which he's had all along, and lets you know that Naal's reflection is also known as the solace of the gods. Knowing that someone like you will carry on the legacy of the Black Mages with the descendants of his friends gives him peace, and he can finally rest, leaving the future of black magic in your hands. This concludes the A Realm Reborn portion of the Black Mage storyline. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next part of the story.